This week on Down to Earth, urban agriculture heralds a green city revolution. Kenya's slum dwellers embrace gardening in a sack.
So we start from the bottom. With a stick, you just pierce.
As the population explodes, so too does food insecurity. Residents are now sowing the seeds of future farming.
And people use rooftops, they use balconies, jars, plastic containers, and that feeds the city.
But it can also feed an income. Here in Nairobi, pockets of spare land are being transformed into urban plantations.
You can sell one piece with about $12.
This week we're down to earth in Kenya. Like most of Africa, Kenyans are flocking to the city on a scale never seen before. The effects are most obvious in the capital's growing slum areas like here in Huruma. Survival is a competition in these settings, but some of the smartest city dwellers are turning to urban farming to feed their families and turn their fate around. More than half of Nairobi's population live in informal settlements. Chris Sunday works in this neighbourhood of Huruma. Chris, you know this neighbourhood well. What's it like for the people living here in Huruma?
In Huruma, the population is very high because most people move in from the countryside to come to the towns and cities expecting a better life. They live within less than $1 per day. So this makes it very difficult for them to provide basic needs like food in the family.
And you think that you found a solution to help them have food on a regular basis?
We have a solution to help them provide food on a regular basis, and this solution is urban farming.
It's incredibly dense here though. You're saying that there's room for farming here in these slums?
Yes, there is enough room for farming, enough room to provide food for everyone who lives here.
And you're going to show us some of these examples?
Exactly, I'm going to show you.
Chris leads us to a community garden wedged between the makeshift homes. It was set up by his association, and this morning there's a demonstration for the local women, how to create a farm in a sack.
We have the onions, we have the spinach, we have the sukuma wiki or kales, and we have the hoho or capsicums or sweet pepper.
The other ingredients, sand, soil and manure, all easy to obtain locally. Over time, the vegetables will grow vertically, maximising the severe shortage of space.
The surface of the bag is 2 feet and we plant 50 seedlings. But if you do it on the ground, with 2 feet, you're only going to plant only 2 seedlings.
48 extra seedlings for the same amount of space.
So we start from the bottom. With a stick, you just pierce, yes, and then you put inside like this. Yeah?
Dozens of different types of vegetables can be planted in the one upright garden. A mind-boggling revelation for the women who will soon cultivate these sacks.
I couldn't imagine how this would work. I even asked during training, do you mean real vegetables will come out of the sack?
Real vegetables can be harvested, but only for around 6 months, after which the bag wears out and splits.
The disadvantages of these bags, sometimes they break if they are too heavy, and also if one seedling is affected by pests, the pest spreads around. So unless you are very careful, you can lose the whole bag.
It's a risk these urban farmers are willing to take in a country where food insecurity is rife. At the same time, Kenya's population is spiralling at 3% per year, putting more pressure on limited resources. But farming in the city can combat this vulnerability, and it's sweeping across Nairobi at a rapid pace. Diana Lee Smith has lobbied hard to see this type of agriculture evolve. Urban farming isn't a new phenomenon. How big is it in Kenya today?
There are 200,000 farming families in Nairobi. People use rooftops, they use balconies and grow in tiny little pots. Actually, urban farming appears to be more productive than rural farming many times over. And this is because it's so intensive There's spare labour in urban areas, people who are looking for jobs, so they can intensively farm.
You've been researching urban farming for decades now. Why are you so in favour of it?
So people can eat and live. Food is essential for human life. And of course, you can't watch people suffer that way and not have food. So most of the people who farm are doing it for their own consumption. But also I can tell you, very many people do it and make a very good living off it. And that feeds the city.
Back in the community garden, we meet Jennifer, a pioneer in urban farming with 4 of her own garden sacks.
Vegetables, I can't remember the last time I bought them because I harvest them here once or twice a week.
Jennifer moved from the country to Nairobi as a young married woman. Her parents were farmers, but it was here in the city that she discovered a talent for horticulture.
When I come in the morning, I feel at ease. The sacks keep me busy. I can't imagine life without them. I'm happy with the work I'm doing. I'm encouraging other women, telling them that the sack is more important than they think it is because it has helped me a lot.
This morning she's harvesting kale, or as it's known in Swahili, sukuma wiki, meaning to stretch the week during periods of food shortage. That's often the case for Jennifer, now a widow and mother of 8, who lives with her family in this small, windowless room. Today she cooks for everyone with the produce she herself has grown.
Because I get my vegetables from the sack, I'm able to save more money for other things to eat with them. So it helps to ease the burden of providing food for my family.
Until recently, Jennifer's small-scale farming was considered illegal in Nairobi, largely because of this. Vegetables grown using polluted water had been found to have high concentrations of metal, making them unfit for human consumption. It was for health reasons that the City Council had banned the practice before deciding last year the benefits outweigh the risks. It was a significant change of attitude, but one that made little difference to those who never planned on eating their harvest.
We started planting bamboo here 2 years ago. We planted about 1,000 pieces.
This here, says Ahmed, is the next step of urban farming. Agriculture in the city, not for human consumption, but to create a source of income.
When the bamboo grows up to the taller height, we can sell one piece with about $12. This one, 1,000 shillings, $12.
This used to be a former dump site. Today it's a mini forest in the midst of the slums. More bamboo seeds are now being cultivated. Long before the harvest, Ahmed imagines the opportunities it will create.
Just imagine a great country like Kenya, we import toothpick. So we want in future to make toothpicks, chopsticks. The others we can make with the hand, like furniture.
Ahmed has been honing his skills at the Kenya Bamboo Centre. It's here that he's learned how to make hundreds of objects by hand.
Once you go to bamboo, you are forever for bamboo. A lot of youth don't come out of school because of lack of funds. You're creating jobs. Instead of them going to the drugs, they join us. So it will make the slum dwellers at least have a hope for their future.
Urban farming can't feed a nation, nor can it provide jobs for all. But it can mitigate insecurity and provide a lifeline for those like Ahmed, who plan to reap the benefits of their harvest.